and here with another episode of Star Wars and History. Today I will be discussing the similarities between Tarkintowns and Hoovervilles. So, what you have on the screen of your picture right now is the Tarkintown from the planet of Lothal in Star Wars Rebels. Now, a Tarkintown is a city built for like refugees and whatnot from the horrible conditions applied on the planet from Grand Moff Tarkin. These, I would say, these conditions are likely to be repeated on other planets. There's likely going to be Tarkin towns on other planets as well, but the only Tarkin town we know of is on or was on Lothal. So these people were very impoverished. They weren't able to get much food. Many of them were dislocated farmers or impoverished people from the city that weren't welcome there and whatnot and had to find a place to live, and this is where they went. So, next we got the Hoovervilles. Now, the Hoovervilles were the names of homeless cities located in America during the Great Depression. These cities are named after President Hoover because many Americans blamed him for the Depression. So, the Great Depression comes along in 1929, and many people go bankrupt. They don't have homes anymore. They have to find a place to live. So all these homeless people kind of gather together in big homeless cities around the country. There were quite a few in California with so many farmers coming from Oklahoma and whatnot. So there's one similarity there. There were both a lot of farmers for Tarkintowns and a lot of farmers in the Hoovervilles, but you will also see Hoovervilles on many of the states in the East Coast, such as I believe there's a big one in New York City and the Central Park and stuff like that. So maybe some along rivers and whatnot elsewhere. The point is, these are stretched amongst the country, and they're named after President Hoover. In Star Wars, these are found in the Outer Rim. They're named after the Grand Moff of the region, Tarkin. So, in both cases, you have people who are impoverished and aren't able to make money, so they have to find a place to live, and many of them go into these towns and aren't able to find food and friends and whatnot. For example, in the book Grapes of Wrath, they have to live off of the smallest portions of food. They have to make do with whatever they can find because there's no way you can be sure that the next day you're going to have something. Now, another similarity between the two is both groups are treated with real harshness from their countries that they live in. In the Tarkintowns, uh, the Tarkintown ends up being destroyed because they simply don't care about the people there. All they cared about were the rebels, and the rebels cared about the Tarkintown, right? So they destroy the Tarkintown. They don't care about it. In these Hoovervilles in the U.S., the police hate these things. These are homeless people. You don't want homeless people on your streets. So they go around destroying them, give them ultimatums, so you have to leave by this point. Now there is a difference in the reason for destroying the cities. Tarkin simply just didn't care about the people, and the Hoovervilles, they were simply annoying to have along the streets, and the people aren't supposed to be living there anyways. But they have to. I mean, these people in both groups have nowhere else to go. So they're in really bad situation. And I'm sure Tarkin didn't really like those people there anyways. So he was perfectly happy with getting rid of them. The point is, the governments don't like these things. They may have slightly different reasons for it, but in both cases, they're impoverished towns that the governments don't like. So, in the long run, these people have to get food from wherever they can. There's often soup kitchens and rebels. The rebel group, the ghost crews, always have to bring them food because they don't know where to get. And but there is one big difference I have not focused on, and that is the cause of the formation of these. The Hoovervilles were formed because of the Great Depression and the stock market crash of 1929. The Tarkintowns are different. The Tarkintowns are created because of the fact of strict rules and regulations from the Empire and bad treatment of the Empire on its citizens, especially under Grand Moff Tarkin in the Outer Rim. That's why it's named Tarkintown. It's named after Tarkin because that's the region he controls, and it's a fairly large region as well. So, the difference is one's created by actual money problems, the other is the cause of the government. Now, could the U.S. government have done stuff to create the great to prevent the Great Depression? Yes, but they were not the direct cause of it. They were not the direct cause of these Hoovervilles. Whereas the government, the empire, which is an empire, not a democracy like America was, this empire was the reason for the Tarkintowns forming. So, though there are a lot of similarities in how these towns and Hoovervilles are treated, the formation and the regions behind their formations are very different. So, these are the Tarkintowns and Hoovervilles. If you have any suggestions for future Star Wars and history videos, let me know. And this is Star Wars and Dana signing out. See you later.